Thanks for staying with us here on TVC Breakfast. Let's bring you another interesting conversation looking at the federal government, which has sued governors of the 36 states over alleged misconduct in the affairs of local government. Attorney General of the Federation, on behalf of the federal government, instituted the court action against the governors, primarily seeking full autonomy for local governments as third tiers of government in the country. The AGF is praying to the Supreme Court for an order prohibiting state governors from the unilateral, arbitrary and unlawful dissolution of democratically elected local government leaders for the local councils. Now, he also sought an order from the Apex Court stopping governors from constituting caretaker committees to run the affairs of local government. The Supreme Court has now fixed May the 30th for hearing of the suit. Now let's talk this through by speaking with a lawyer, social development advocate, Olutobosun Oshifowora. Thank you so much for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Right. So if you look at the local government, it's so debased. Local government is so debased in this country. And then when we talk about it, you'd be like, local government, does it exist? But then there are local government chairmen, and we know they are chairmen. But exactly what do we get? So how do you see this latest development, coming from the federal government, taking the bull by the horn, saying we need to fix this, we need to get this done, enough of the talking?
First of all, it's a fantastic initiative. It's a good drive. It's a great drive, in fact, not just good. And thank goodness we're not Gen Zs. Yes, if you're old enough, no. If you're old enough, I'm a 70s child, so if you're old enough and you know the history of local government and how local governments have functioned in the past, then you will know that this is the right drive by the government. Because once upon a time, I was born in this country, I grew up in this Lagos. Once upon a time, local government was actually a government, and a lot of things, primary health care, even primary education, all those things were literally under the local government. And they functioned effectively. In fact, you can count numerous things. Local government was an actual government, and it was effective. But over time, whatever happened, there was some, I don't know whether spiritual or physical or political or a combination, a cocktail of all these events actually made a mess of the local government. And they became a shadow of what it used to be. And also, if you look at the history of local government, the local government came into our constitution in 1979 under the Muritala arrangement. The whole debate had been on and all that. And, it's basically to bring government closer to the people. In fact, it was a testing ground for people with political ambition. And we saw people, move up the ladder from being ordinary councillors to, becoming important persons politically in Nigeria. And we've also seen the import and the impact of the local government at the lower level, at the grassroots level. And so when the whole thing was washed away, everybody started looking at what's going on. Luckily, in fact, I saw a news, but I think we will get there. Luckily, some people took the initiative that, no, the local government shouldn't die. The local government shouldn't become a shadow of itself. So I think that was what gave vent to this, litigation by the AG. And I know the president is very much behind it. That's because right. We know his antecedents, we know what he's done as far as local government is concerned, trying to bring governance closer to the people. And that's why I said this is a great initiative. It's in the right order. And if you look at the Constitution, it's clear. Section 7 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, it said there shall be a local government in this country. It shall be the third tier of the government, and then people shall be democratically elected into it. If I say that the local government is guaranteed under this Constitution, that's what Section 7 of the 1999 Constitution says. So it's there, it's clear. As for its finances and allocation, it's there. Section 162 says that the federal government shall have an account, and then money shall be given to the state. That's right. But each state shall open a joint account for local government, and it shall disburse all its revenue to the local government. But over time, That didn't happen. I can't put my hands on where the thing got missing or where the shift came, where the cataclysm came. But at some point, we saw that there was a shift from what the local government used to be, and then we saw state literally usurping the powers of the local government. I mean, once upon a time, in the same country, we saw governors literally take over the functions of local government, and they will tell you, okay, I'll do this road for you, mark where you want. That's not constitutional.
Yeah, exactly. Because in a matter of governance and development, local council or local government is a place where the rubber meets the road. And there have been arguments about whether local government is a third tier of government and a feature of federalism, or that the control of local government should be the responsibility of the state. What exactly should we understand?
All right. Now, let's put it straight. I like your question. Number one, constitutionally, the local government is the third tier of the state, of the country, of governance in Nigeria.
Yeah, third tier of government.
Number two, it is a basic function of federalism, because what you have in federalism by definition is you have a government at the center, you have component units, and you have sub-component units. If you don't have that, then you're going to unitary governance or unitary system of government. Yeah. Now, so the Constitution has put it in place, and that's what we should do. That's what we should follow. That's why the AG has come up to do it. And if you look over time, the practice at that level has been so bastardized that literally local government heads or chairmen are literally stooges of the state governor.
Yeah.
And then we also saw
you call them stooges because they are somewhat selected by the emperors of this state.
And the reason is that the state, unfortunately, is the state that conducts the election, the state INEC.
That's right.
Conducts. So there's some level of influence by the governor. And you find that you saw what happened in Ogun State last year. You saw how the governor was brazen and literally took out, the local government chairman. And, you saw all the other local government chairmen go and beg the governor. And it was televised. And I'm like, come on. These people do not understand the provisions of the Constitution. They do not understand their powers under the Constitution, because you are a government. The same way the president cannot fling a governor or do anything to a governor the way he wishes, the governor cannot do the same thing to the local government chair. One of the reliefs sought by the AG in that suit is the issue of their elections.
Yeah.
Because you find that normally they spend 3 years or a little over 3 years by the provisions of the law that puts them in place. Now, so what happens is that instead of governors to conduct elections, they put up a caretaker committee, and then those ones stay there for the entire 1 year.
That is unconstitutional.
Very unconstitutional. That's what the AG is fighting on the people. So what happens is that it's become a food for the boys thing. So, okay, this one is loyal to me, then we put him there. Then they call them the executive secretary, that's the ES. Then over time, too, that one gains ground, then it starts vying for. So it's an anomaly, politically, legally, and I think that's what the AG is trying to correct. I think the only thing I read earlier this morning when I was looking into this, the governor of Lagos State was like, come on.
He's faulting the federal government suit against the 36 governors.
That if there's anybody who has blazed the trail, who has been in the forefront of autonomy for the local government, it's Lagos State. So that you can't just make a blanket suit. And I can feel my governor. I know what it is. But the basic thing is that he's right to an extent. But I think it's not a blanket suit. It's a suit to bring in everybody. At the end of the day, I know the judgment of the Supreme Court will go right. Definitely. It's almost predictable because we know this is an aberration, is an anomaly. Right. And at the end of the day, when it becomes binding on everybody, whether you've been compliant or not. So, and that's it.
Absolutely. There's a lot to talk about, but then let's quickly, hold this thought for a second, and then we'll take a break. Just stay with us here on TVC Breakfast. We'll be back.
marks, I've tried everything. Nivea Lumina 630 works from day one with visible results in just 2 weeks and 71% dark marks reduction in 12. Join the 1 million.
Thanks for staying with us here on TVC Breakfast. We'll be talking about local government and local government autonomy, especially with the federal government dragging the 36 state governors to the court in order to ensure that local government becomes viable and people at the grassroots get dividends of democracy. I've been speaking with lawyer, social development advocate Olutubosun Oshifowora, who has been giving us insight into this conversation. So if you look at the previous administration of former President Muhammad Buhari, there was this, dragging the local government to dragging state to the court on financial autonomy, for local government, which captured in the recent constitutional amendments, that we had recently. How far-reaching do you think this would aid governance and local governments in the country? Because it was not even respected. So, what is the assurance, or what are the assurances that this is going to take us to a logical conclusion?
Unfortunately, you cannot do anything outside the court or outside the law. It's the governor, the president cannot use any extraterrestrial power other than allowing the court to interpret the proper position, which I think, the immediate past president stood for, and he did his part. And I think this is a continuation. Government is a continuum. So this is a continuation of what has happened with the last administration. And I think it's in the right direction, because, you see, sometimes people look at the president or the presidency as the source of the problems. When people complain, they mention, they mention the president is because everybody is literally under him. Yeah. But you see, they shy away from how much powers and how much concentration of powers and funds is in the states. And somehow the states have been able to deflect effectively, and they make people just look in a different direction. So you don't really, have you seen people complain and mention the name of their governor? They hardly do. Except the thing is very, very local to them. Now, but the thing is, everybody mentions
things that
are
local. You hear them mention the president.
You wake up, you see a photo in front of your house, and then you just call the president's name. But I'm not absolving the president from whatever responsibility. But the fact is that government is in levels and in tiers. That's why you have the local government, and like you rightly said earlier, that it's bringing governance to the grassroots and making the people feel the impact of government, because there are a lot of things that goes up at the very top. What happens is that the way you feel it is through the local government. And the Constitution is clear, the law is clear on their allocations, everything, but we have seen a lot of manipulations by state government. And we have seen all kinds of manipulations, and at the end of the day, that's why some even try to put their own persons there. So at the end of the day, the local government chair is like a puppet, and if you try to raise any eyebrow, they know how to get you out.
But if you come to think of it, some actually say that state helps the local government to manage its funds or mitigate corrupt practices that might have festered at that level. Do you agree?
I saw an unfortunate statement by, I think, the Speaker of your state, the young man there. They had a speakers conference, and he said that the local government should not be given autonomy because there will be corruption and then the funds will be diverted. And I think this is ignorance on steroids. Number one, it shows that he doesn't understand the fact that this is a government on its own. If you look at what the state government does at the state level, that's what the local government does at the grassroots level. Literally everything, with a few exceptions. It's a way of making you know that, say, we want to bring in this part. We want the impact of the government to be felt at this level. So they have their powers, they have laws backing up what they do. So for an individual to come and say there will be corruption, is there no corruption at the state level? Haven't we seen corruption at the presidency level? So do you now scrap, or do you now hold their money and say that another government should start sending money to them. It doesn't work like that. One, it's purely, it's a case of you exceeding what the law has given you. You want to exceed the powers that the laws have given you, and then it's a way of also not seeing the importance of the local government. Those who made it, those who made the law, they know what they're doing. So you can't just show up one day and say that there will be corruption. If there's corruption and there are checks and balances to this thing, so the state cannot manage the funds. The provision of the law is that the state will create an account. So when the money comes, it comes into that account. And it says specifically, section 162(6), 7 also says, sub 7 says the same thing, that all their allocation must be given to them. All the revenues must be given to the local government. What is hard in that?
So judicial autonomy also was something that we talked about, and until what we see now, because it's just like the state was the alpha and omega. So judiciary is aloof now, like are they independent to a reasonable extent?
To an extent.
Independent?
To an extent. It was the same way people fought for this. That's how they fought for judicial
because supposed to
autonomy.
be theory, the executive, legislature...
Nobody holds the executive's money. It's a case of, if you look at it, it's like they're trying... One of the things we need to understand is that all these arms of government, they are equal to themselves. That's
right.
That's one of the things.
And it creates checks and balances if we have them working.
So the executive is there, nobody's holding the executive's money. The legislators are there, they have their funds, they've had from the beginning, and they disburse their funds the way they like. So why is the judiciary subservient to them? Because that's the implication. If somebody else is holding, it's like you playing the big brother, like, okay, no, you bring your sweet, let me keep it for you. Then by the time they come, there will be some abracadabra in the process. And if you look at it, you need to go outside this country to appreciate the judiciary, because judicial officers work under strenuous conditions. Judges still write in longhand in this country. Maybe with the exception of a few states, like that. The necessary, that's why I said that if you go outside and you see how law practice is and how judicial officers are treated, in fact, you come back and weep for this nation. And sometimes you wonder, how do they work? I have been in court in this Southwest, not even beyond, where judges, no light. And judges, I'm talking 5 o'clock, and a judge is, literally straining and still trying to capture what, and this person started since 9 a.m. He didn't get to work at 9 a.m. He got there much earlier. So these are things, it is in this same country that some judges, retired judges, literally started like a suit just to get their pensions. Come on.
So, talking about local government autonomy, we know that in local government we have the chairman. We also have they have some semblance of legislative arm too.
Yes.
And so, what exactly is the structure of the local government, if we must have it, in a perfect?
The structure is there. It's laid out in the schedule to the constitutional provision, to the section. All right. The local government chair is there. There's a vice who comes from being elected amongst the other councillors. Then they have their council. It's a mini state. That's why I said it's just a microcosm of what happens at the state. What you don't have is that they don't have commissioners and all that, but they have executives within the local government. Yeah. So they meet the same way, so they have, in fact, the Constitution also says that the economic affairs of that area, that jurisdiction, is determined by the local government. That's why they have the powers to collect revenue. They have the powers to do a lot of things, and then.
At least I remember there used to be, TV license,
yes,
fire
radio
service,
and TV license, all those things.
All of those dues that we pay, and,
exactly,
and that.
They even have their own part of their function is, they take care of the environment. They have staffs. They have all kinds of individuals in that.
But what we see now is just building occupied by animals, and go to some states, you see buildings. Say this is a local government.
In fact, if you look at Lagos, you see something working. If you go outside Lagos,
I'm actually referring to outside of Lagos.
You just see,
because I've been to several states and I see this is a local government.
I served in Sokoto some 20 years ago, and it was nothing.
There's only one they want to share
about,
location.
Exactly. In fact, that's the local government is functional on the day the joint allocation comes in, and after
perhaps that's why the state is saying that we can only manage the fund for them. We don't have to.
No, it doesn't work like that. You've killed the local government. That's why, by that doing, I told you, once upon a time, in this same country, in this same, not just Lagos, across board, the local government was effective. The local government was effective, very effective. In fact, I said it's a breeding ground for politicians. Because, I mean, I don't want to mention
you consolidate your base before you think of
and that's it. And you know the beauty of local government, which is still, up to now, it's still functional. It's still something that happens. People know you. People know your father's house because you came from amongst them. So if you're messing up or you're not doing right, they will come to your place. You don't know where the governor stays. You can't even reach the governor. Nobody's talking about attacking, but the local government is a place you can walk up to and say, I want to see the chairman.
But then most of the chairmen that we have now, you can testify that most of them go to Abuja immediately they become chairman. Even a councillor relocates to Abuja.
Unfortunately, these days, you even now have people who become local government chairs who don't even reside in the local government. Some people get imposed on the people, and at the end of the day, you find that the kind of effectiveness that the local government used to have, we don't have it again because of this bastardization, which is largely orchestrated by state government.
There's still very much to talk about, but we need to quickly take a break or a breather, because I just joined the two words together, making it, a portmanteau word, break and breather, breathe. Just stay with us on TVC Breakfast. We'll be right back.
Marks, I've tried everything. Nivea Lumina 630 works from day one with visible results in just 2 weeks and 71% dark marks reduction in 12. Join the 1 million women already using Lumina 630 from Nivea.
Thanks for staying with us here on TVC Breakfast. We'll still be talking about the local government and how we can make it viable and viral so that Nigerians will enjoy the dividends of governance. I've been speaking with a lawyer, social development advocate, Olutobosun Oshifowora. Thank you so much, for your keenness of insight into this. A little earlier, you referred to Nigerians, always calling on the president, saying that this is bad. Things that are of local, importance to them, they look at the federal government to fix it. So much so that during the budget presentation, Nigerians can read or reel out the budgets of the executive, of the president, offhand. But nobody asks about that of the local government. Perhaps do you feel that if we have, even the state, I said local government, perhaps if we have local government autonomy, people will understand the importance of governance and how they should talk. But then, I don't know, does it not look like a mirage with a level of awareness?
It's not a mirage. It's not a mirage. You see, it's when you keep quiet. I think the popular saying, I think it's an excerpt from a book, it says, the man dies a name who keeps silent in the face of tyranny.
Yeah.
If the state's governors have been brazen when it comes to local government, and they've literally taken over, and that's why you find that the bulk of the fight is from the state governors. Because it's an extra for them. It's extra larges for them because they have their own allocation. Nobody is looking into it. All right, now, so they're preventing the local government from existing because it's a simple way of dipping hands into it. I told you that once upon a time, even it's happening now, there are state governors who will tell you that, okay, local government chair, line up here, tell me what roads you have, go and bring 2 areas in your place. That is not the law. It's against the law. It's against the provision of the Constitution. It's against the conscience of the local government. So it's not supposed to be like that. Now, so at the end of the day, what you find is that the state governors are doing this thing because they get extra funds from the funds of a local government,
Yeah.
which the law has said specifically allowed them to operate, allowed them to breed. So it's a case of justice for the local government.
Absolutely. Well, because of our time, I'd love to engage you on how this will also help in ensuring security, fighting insecurity, the issue of state police and all of that. But then there's so much, it's still an ongoing conversation. Yeah. So when we have this conversation next time, definitely we'll look at the impact of this. Thank you very kindly. Lawyer, social development advocate, Olutobosun Oshifowora. Thank you so much.
Always a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. And don't stay with us here on TVC Breakfast. Still to come,